The year was 1910. A seemingly innocuous report commissioned by the Carnegie Foundation would forever alter the landscape of American medicine. This was the Flexner Report. What appeared to be a noble endeavor to improve medical education was, in reality, a calculated power grab orchestrated by two of history's wealthiest figures, Andrew Carnegie and John D. Rockefeller. Their objective? To seize control of healthcare and transform it into a profit-driven industry dominated by pharmaceuticals. Over a century later, the ramifications of their actions continue to shape the way we approach health and healing. The Flexner Report serves as a stark reminder of the insidious influence of wealth and power. It highlights how easily altruistic intentions can be manipulated to serve the interests of the elite. This is the story of how a nation's health was hijacked. It's a story of how natural remedies were demonized. It's a story of how we became enslaved to a system that prioritizes profit over well-being. The Flexner Report wasn't just about reforming medical education, it was a weapon wielded to crush competition and pave the way for a pharmaceutical empire. It's a tale that unfolds like a conspiracy thriller. It's a story that needs to be told. John D. Rockefeller, the oil tycoon, saw an opportunity. His vast fortune, amassed through Standard Oil, was built on controlling resources. Now he set his sights on a new kind of resource, our health. Rockefeller envisioned a world where the human body would become a captive market. His strategy was as simple as it was ruthless. Discredit and dismantle any approach to healing that threatened his burgeoning pharmaceutical interests. Rockefeller, along with his accomplice Andrew Carnegie, understood the power of influence. They strategically poured millions into the General Education Board, using philanthropy as a smokescreen. Their donations came with strings attached, strings that would be used to manipulate medical schools across the nation. These weren't benevolent acts of charity. This was a calculated investment, designed to reap enormous profits from a future dependent on their drugs. The Flexner Report was their instrument of control. Its author, Abraham Flexner, was a man easily swayed by the allure of wealth and power. He became their puppet, dancing to the tune of their grand scheme. The Flexner Report, under the guise of promoting rigorous scientific standards, launched a scathing attack on alternative medicine. Homeopathy, naturopathy, herbalism, these ancient practices were labeled as quackery and unscientific. Flexner, with the backing of his benefactors, effectively demonized any approach to healing that didn't rely on patented, profitable pharmaceuticals. Medical schools that dared to teach alternative therapies were targeted. The report demanded they adopt a strictly allopathic model, focusing solely on surgery, radiation, and the burgeoning field of synthetic drugs. Schools that refused to comply faced dire consequences, their reputations tarnished and their funding slashed. The message was clear: conform or perish. The Flexner Report, with its aura of authority, became the gospel of medical education. Its recommendations were swiftly adopted, marking the beginning of the end for many alternative medicine schools. With the rise of Rockefeller's pharmaceutical empire, a systematic campaign of suppression was unleashed. Alternative practitioners were ridiculed in the media, their clinics raided and their licenses revoked. The medical establishment, now firmly under the control of Rockefeller's allies, turned a blind eye to the persecution of these healers. The narrative was clear: natural remedies were primitive, ineffective, and potentially dangerous. Only the new wave of pharmaceutical interventions, backed by scientific rigor, could be trusted. Of course, these pronouncements conveniently ignored the fact that many of these new drugs were derived from the same natural sources they sought to discredit. The goal was not to improve public health, it was to eliminate competition. By discrediting and dismantling alternative medicine, Rockefeller ensured that his pharmaceutical companies would face no opposition in their quest for market dominance. Section 5. Insurance, the gatekeeper of Rockefeller's empire. With alternative medicine effectively marginalized, the insurance industry emerged as a crucial cog in Rockefeller's grand plan. Insurance companies, eager to maximize profits, readily adopted policies that favored pharmaceutical interventions while denying coverage for natural treatments. This created a vicious cycle where patients were financially incentivized to choose expensive drugs over more affordable. and often safer natural alternatives. This insurance bias further solidified the dominance of the Rockefeller model. Patients, often burdened with high deductibles and co-pays, were left with little choice but to rely on the very system that had been designed to exploit them. The message was clear: your health is a commodity, and your access to care is determined by your ability to pay for the treatments we deem profitable. The insurance industry, once a safety net for the sick and injured, had become another tool of control. It served as the gatekeeper to Rockefeller's empire, ensuring that the flow of patients and their money continued unabated. In the early 20th century, the rise of large pharmaceutical companies began to reshape the landscape of healthcare. These corporations, often backed by influential families like the Rockefellers, started to dominate the industry. The focus shifted towards patented medicines and away from traditional holistic approaches. This change, driven by profit motives, led to a healthcare system heavily reliant on pharmaceuticals. But what does this mean for us today? Are we, as a society, in the pocket of big pharma? It's worth noting that the FDA receives 70% of its funding from pharmaceutical companies. The dominance of pharmaceutical companies has had profound implications. On one hand, we've seen incredible advancements in medicine and the treatment of diseases. On the other hand, the cost of this dominance has been high. Many life-saving drugs are priced beyond the reach of those who need them most. The emphasis on medication over prevention has led to a system where managing symptoms often takes precedence over finding cures. It's a complex issue with no easy answers, but it's one that affects us all. As awareness grows, more people are questioning the Rockefeller model of healthcare. This model, which prioritizes pharmaceutical interventions, is being challenged by advocates of holistic and integrative approaches. These advocates argue for a return to natural remedies, preventive care, and treating the root causes of illness rather than just the symptoms. Breaking free from the entrenched system isn't easy, but the movement towards a more balanced approach to health is gaining momentum. Exposing the truth about our current healthcare system is the first step towards change. By understanding the history and the forces at play, we can make more informed choices about our health. Embracing holistic healthcare means considering the whole person, mind, body, and spirit. It's about prevention, natural treatments, and a partnership between patient and practitioner. As we move forward, the hope is to create a healthcare system that truly serves the well-being of all.